Welcome to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe for more English stories. Today, we're going to talk about how to speak in English. Many people can understand English but have trouble speaking it. Speaking well takes practice, patience, and confidence. I will share some tips to help you. First, let me tell you a story about my friend Sam. Sam moved to a new country where people spoke English. He knew some English but felt nervous when he had to speak. He understood when people talked, but when it was his turn, he got shy. One day, Sam decided to practice speaking English every day. He started by talking to himself in front of the mirror. He would say simple things like, "Hello, my name is Sam, and today I will go to the park." This helped him get used to his own voice in English. Sam also watched English shows and movies. He listened carefully to how the actors spoke. He repeated lines and practiced saying them out loud. This helped him learn new words and sounds. Sam joined an English club where people practiced speaking. At first he was nervous. He didn't want to make mistakes, but everyone was friendly and kind. They helped him and cheered him on. Slowly, Sam began speaking more and felt more confident. Sam also made friends with some neighbors who spoke English. He told them about his struggles, and they offered to help him. They would invite him for tea and chat. These small talks helped Sam a lot. He learned new words, got better at using different expressions, and felt more confident. Now, let me tell you about Lily. Lily moved to an English-speaking country for work. She was good at reading and writing English, but speaking was hard for her. She understood everything her colleagues said, but when she spoke, she got nervous. Lily decided to improve. She started practicing with a friend who spoke English. They met twice a week and practiced both languages. This exchange helped Lily learn new words and speak more clearly. Lily also took an online speaking course. She practiced speaking about work, hobbies, and daily life. The teachers gave her helpful feedback. It showed her where she could improve and gave tips to speak more fluently. Lily made speaking English a habit. She would talk to herself, record her voice, and listen to it. She also practiced with her colleagues during lunch. At first, she was nervous, but they were supportive. They helped her with tough words. Over time, Lily became more confident. From these stories, we can learn some important things. First, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Everyone makes them, and it's okay. Mistakes help us learn. Second, be patient with yourself. Speaking English takes time, and you will improve little by little. Having a supportive group of people is also important. Find friends who help you and encourage you to keep practicing. Lastly, make learning fun. Watch movies, listen to music, and do activities that you enjoy. When you have fun, you'll learn faster. If you understand English but find speaking difficult, remember, you are not alone. Many people feel the same way. With practice and support, you will get better. Keep trying, and you will improve. Now, let me tell you another story about Tom. Tom moved to an English-speaking country for work. He was great at his job, but speaking English was hard. In meetings, he understood everything, but when it was his turn, he felt nervous and couldn't speak well. Tom decided to practice more. He found a friend who wanted to learn his language. They met twice a week and helped each other. This was very helpful for Tom. He learned new words and practiced his pronunciation. Tom also took an online speaking course. He learned many ways to speak better. He practiced speaking about work, hobbies, and daily life. The feedback from teachers helped him know what to work on. Tom practiced speaking every day. He would talk to himself, record his voice, and practice with his colleagues during lunch. They helped him and made him feel better. Over time, Tom became more confident and could speak clearly. From these stories, we see that regular practice is key. It helps to have a language partner, take speaking courses, and be patient. It's also important to focus on speaking slowly and clearly. Speaking too fast can make it hard for others to understand. The more words you know, the easier it is to express yourself. So, read books, watch shows, and listen to music in English. When you find new words, write them down and try to use them in conversations. Lastly, try to practice speaking in different situations. You can practice ordering food at a restaurant or asking for directions. Keep practicing, and soon you'll feel much more confident. Chapter 2. Tom knew he needed more practice. He started to look for new ways to improve his speaking. One day he thought, what if I practice every day with simple things? So he decided to talk about his day in English every night before bed. He began by saying, today I woke up at 7 a.m. I had breakfast and then went to work. I worked on a project all day. After work, I went for a walk in the park. It was easy to speak about his day because he knew what happened. At first, Tom only spoke slowly. He was careful to think about each word, but over time he started to speak more naturally. He added new details like, I met my friends at the park and we talked about our weekend plans. This made his sentences longer and more interesting. Tom also decided to listen to English podcasts. He found one about travel because he loved to travel. Every morning on his way to work, he would listen to the podcast. He listened to the speaker's voice and tried to repeat the words after him. This helped him hear new words and practice his pronunciation. One day, while listening to the podcast, Tom heard the phrase, make the most of your time. He liked it and wanted to use it. So he practiced saying it many times. Make the most of your time. He repeated it again and again, and soon it felt natural to say. Tom's friends at work noticed his efforts. They started to talk to him more. They said, your English is getting better. This made Tom feel proud. He was still making mistakes, but he didn't care anymore. He knew it was part of learning. One Friday afternoon, Tom's colleague Sarah invited him to a coffee shop after work. We can practice English together, she said. At first, Tom felt nervous, but he remembered how much he had practiced. I can do this, he thought. When they sat down at the coffee shop, Sarah asked, what did you do this weekend? Tom smiled and said, I went hiking in the mountains. It was very beautiful. I saw a lot of animals. Sarah listened and asked more questions. What animals did you see? Tom felt happy. He was speaking English easily. He didn't need to think too much about the words. The conversation flowed naturally. Sarah didn't laugh at his mistakes. She was kind and patient. This made him feel even more confident. At home, Tom continued his daily routine. He spoke to himself about his day, listened to podcasts, and read simple English books. He also tried to write in English. He started writing a short diary every day. He would write 1 or 2 sentences about what happened during the day. For example, one day he wrote, "Today, I felt very tired because I worked hard, but I am happy. I met some nice people at work." Writing helped Tom understand how to use new words. It also gave him practice with grammar. One week, Tom had an opportunity to practice with a tourist. He was walking down the street when a man asked him for directions. The man spoke slowly, but Tom was nervous. He had to think for a moment. Then he said, "Go straight, then turn left. The bus stop is on the right." The tourist smiled and said, "Thank you." Tom felt proud of himself. He had used English in real life. The conversation wasn't perfect, but it was enough. He was starting to feel more confident every day. Tom also realized that watching TV shows helped him. He loved watching detective shows. They were in English, so he would watch them and try to understand the words. He didn't worry if he didn't understand everything. He just tried to pick up new phrases. He would watch the same scenes again to hear the words better. Sometimes Tom used subtitles to help him understand the meaning. Other times, he would turn off the subtitles and try to listen carefully. This helped him practice both listening and speaking. Another thing that helped Tom was reading out loud. Every evening, before going to bed, he would read a short English story out loud. He would try to speak slowly and clearly. This helped him practice pronunciation and become more comfortable with the rhythm of the language. Tom's progress didn't happen overnight, but after a few months, he could see a big change. He was speaking more confidently, understanding more, and making fewer mistakes. It wasn't perfect, but it was much better than before. One day, Tom had to speak in front of a group at work. He was nervous, but he remembered everything he had practiced. He took a deep breath and began. "Hello, everyone. Today I will talk about the new project." He spoke slowly, clearly, and without rushing. Everyone understood him. Afterward, his boss came to him and said, "Great job, Tom. Your English is really improving." That moment made Tom feel amazing. He realized all his hard work was paying off. Tom knew that learning English would take time, but now he was excited to keep improving. He had learned that with small steps, he could speak better every day. He just needed to keep practicing and not be afraid of making mistakes. So, Tom decided to keep going. He would speak more, listen more, and enjoy the process. He knew that each day of practice would bring him closer to his goal. Chapter 3. After a few months, Tom felt more confident in speaking English, but he knew there was still more to learn. He decided to try speaking in different situations to practice more. One day he thought, "I should try to use English when I go shopping." The next time he went to the store, he decided to speak in English with the cashier. When he reached the counter, he smiled and said, "Hello, how are you today?" The cashier smiled back and said, "I'm good, thank you." "How are you?" Tom replied, "I'm good too, thank you." He then said, "I'd like to buy this shirt, please." The cashier asked, "Do you want to pay with cash or card?" Tom answered, "I will pay with card." It felt good to use English in a real situation. The cashier was friendly and patient, which helped Tom feel relaxed. Later that week, Tom had to make a phone call. He needed to call a company about a service. He was a little nervous because he had never spoken to anyone on the phone in English before. He took a deep breath and dialed the number. When the person answered, Tom said, "Hello, my name is Tom. I'm calling about your service." The person on the phone was very nice and asked, "What can I help you with today?" Tom explained his question slowly. The person understood him and gave clear answers. At first, Tom didn't know what to expect. But after the call, he felt proud of himself. He had used English in a new way and communicated well. He realized that using English in real-life situations helped him learn faster. Tom also wanted to improve his writing. He knew that writing in English could help him learn new words and grammar. He started writing short emails to his friends in English. At first, he only wrote simple sentences. He would write, "Hi, how are you? I am good. I went to the park today." But over time, Tom added more details to his emails. He wrote about his work, what he learned, and his hobbies. He also asked his friends questions in English. "What are you doing this weekend?" he wrote. "Do you like going to the beach?" One of his friends, Mark, replied in English too. "I'm going to visit my family this weekend. I like going to the beach, but it's too cold now." This made Tom happy. He liked that his friends were also trying to use English. It made him feel even more confident. Tom also joined an online language exchange. He found a partner from a different country who wanted to practice English. His partner's name was Sophia, and she wanted to learn Tom's language. They decided to talk to each other once a week. They would speak in English for half an hour and then in Tom's language for the other half. This way, both of them could practice. At first, it was difficult for Tom. Sophia spoke fast, and sometimes he didn't understand everything. But Sophia was very patient. She repeated things and explained when he didn't understand. Slowly, Tom got better at understanding Sophia's accent and speaking with her. One day, Sophia asked, "What's your favorite book?" Tom thought for a moment. He said, "I like adventure books. They are fun. I like stories about travel and mystery." Sophia smiled and said, "That sounds interesting. Maybe I should read one of your books." Tom felt happy. He was able to have a real conversation in English. Sophia also gave Tom helpful advice. "Try to read more books in English," she said. "It will help you learn new words and improve your grammar." Tom took her advice seriously. He started reading books in English every day, even if it was just for 10 minutes. Tom began to see the results. The more he read, the more words he learned. The more he spoke, the easier it became. He was not perfect, but he was improving. Every day he was getting a little better. One day, Tom had to give a presentation at work. He had prepared for it for weeks. He was nervous, but he remembered everything he had practiced. Before the meeting, he took a deep breath and thought, "I can do this." When it was his turn, Tom smiled and said, Good morning, everyone. Today, I'm going to talk about our new project. He spoke slowly and clearly. As he went through the slides, he felt more confident. The people in the meeting were paying attention and nodding. Tom felt good about how it was going. At the end of the presentation, Tom said, "Thank you for listening. Do you have any questions?" His boss asked a question, and Tom answered it in English. It wasn't perfect, but he got his point across. His colleagues clapped and said, "Well done, Tom." Tom left the meeting feeling proud of himself. He realized that all the practice had helped him. He could speak English at work, with friends, and in many situations. He still made mistakes, but that didn't stop him. He knew that practice was the key to getting better. Tom continued to challenge himself. He spoke with people from different countries, joined more language exchanges, and practiced his English every day. He knew that learning a language was a long journey, but he was happy to be on the right path. He thought about how far he had come since he first started. He used to feel nervous and shy when speaking English. Now, he felt comfortable using the language in many situations. Tom smiled and thought, "If I keep practicing, I will only get better." And with that, he kept going, knowing that every step brought him closer to his goal. Chapter 4. Tom had been practicing English for a long time, and he was starting to feel more confident. But he knew that to improve even more, he needed to challenge himself. One day he decided, "I will speak English with strangers." This seemed like a big step, but Tom was ready. The next morning, Tom went to a cafe. He walked up to the counter and smiled at the cashier. "Hello," he said. "I'd like a coffee, please." The cashier smiled back. "What size would you like?" she asked. Tom paused for a moment and said, "Medium, please." The cashier said, "Okay, one medium coffee. Is that all?" Tom nodded and replied, "Yes, thank you." When he got his coffee, Tom felt proud. It was a small conversation, but it was important for him. It showed that he could speak English outside his home. It also helped him get over his fear of speaking to strangers. He thought, "I can do this more often." The next day, Tom went to the grocery store. He needed some vegetables and fruit. He picked out tomatoes, carrots, and apples. As he was walking to the checkout, the cashier asked, "Do you have a loyalty card?" Tom smiled and said, "No, I don't. Just the items I'm buying today." The cashier smiled back and said, "Okay, that's $12.50. Tom handed over his money and said, "Thank you." The cashier responded, "Have a nice day." As Tom walked out of the store, he felt good. He had practiced speaking English again, and it was becoming easier. A few days later, Tom decided to join a language meetup group. He found one that met every Wednesday evening. He was nervous at first because he didn't know anyone, but he knew it was a great chance to practice more. He walked into the room, took a deep breath, and said, "Hi, my name is Tom. I'm learning English." The people in the group were friendly. They introduced themselves and told Tom a little about their backgrounds. There were people from different countries: Spain, France, Italy, and Brazil. They all spoke English together to practice. At first, Tom felt a little shy. He was not sure how to start a conversation, but the other members helped him. One person said, "Let's talk about hobbies." "What do you like to do in your free time, Tom?" Tom smiled and said, "I like reading books, watching movies, and traveling." Another member, Maria, asked, "What kind of books do you like?" Tom thought for a moment and said, "I like adventure books. I also like books about history." The conversation started to flow easily. Tom didn't worry about making mistakes. He just spoke and listened to others. The group was kind and encouraged each other. By the end of the meeting, Tom felt happy. He had spoken in English for over an hour, and he had enjoyed it. As the weeks went by, Tom kept attending the group meetings. Each time, he felt more comfortable. He started speaking more, asking questions, and sharing his ideas. Sometimes, people asked him questions about his country, and he had to explain things in English. It was a good challenge, and he enjoyed it. One evening, after a meeting, Maria invited Tom to have dinner with her and some friends. Tom was excited, but also nervous. He was still learning, and he knew it would be a challenge to speak English in a social setting, but he accepted the invitation. At dinner, they talked about many things: food, music, and travel. Tom was surprised that he could understand most of what they said. Sometimes he had to ask for clarification, but it was okay. Everyone was happy to help. Maria's friends also practiced their English with Tom. They corrected his mistakes in a friendly way and gave him tips to sound more natural. The next day, Tom thought about the dinner. He was proud of himself for taking the chance to speak with new people. He realized that speaking English in social situations was different from speaking in class or meetings. It felt more relaxed and fun. He decided to do this more often. Tom also remembered his online language exchange with Sophia. They had been speaking every week for months. Sophia was a great friend, and they had many fun conversations. One day, she asked Tom, "What do you want to do in the future?" Tom thought for a moment and said, "I want to travel to many countries and see new places. I also want to keep improving my English." Sophia smiled and said, "You're doing great. Keep practicing, and your English will keep getting better." Tom thanked Sophia. He realized that practicing English was a journey, not a race. He didn't have to be perfect. What mattered was that he kept practicing and enjoyed the process. Tom also started reading more in English. He picked up books on different topics, like history, science, and travel. He didn't understand everything, but that was okay. He used a dictionary to look up words he didn't know, and he wrote them down to remember later. This helped him learn new vocabulary. Tom also watched English movies with subtitles. He would watch a scene and then replay it to catch the words he didn't understand. Sometimes he would pause the movie and repeat the sentences to practice his pronunciation. One day, Tom realized something important. He had stopped being afraid of making mistakes. He had stopped worrying about sounding perfect. Instead, he focused on using the language, learning, and having fun. Speaking English was no longer a challenge. It was part of his life. and Tom was excited to keep going. As he continued to practice, Tom knew that he would improve even more. He had come a long way since he first started, and he was proud of his progress. He also knew that there was always something new to learn. Every day, Tom took one more step toward his goal of speaking English fluently. Chapter 5. Tom was feeling good about his English. He had learned a lot and was using it every day. But he still wanted to get even better. He thought, how can I make my English even stronger? He knew that practicing every day was important, but he also needed new ways to challenge himself. One morning, Tom decided to set a new goal. He wanted to be able to speak more fluently. He wanted to say what was on his mind without thinking too much. To do this, Tom needed to practice speaking for longer periods without stopping. He started by talking to himself for 10 minutes every day. Tom would pick a topic and speak about it out loud. He would say, "Today I will talk about my favorite movie." Then he would go on for 10 minutes, explaining everything he liked about the movie, the characters, and the story. Sometimes Tom didn't know what to say next, but he didn't stop. He would just think for a moment and continue. At first, it was hard. He often ran out of words or made mistakes, but over time, it got easier. The more Tom practiced, the more he could speak without stopping. It was like exercising his brain. He learned to use new words and phrases that he had never used before. One evening, Tom decided to try something new. He went to a local language cafe. This was a place where people could meet and practice speaking different languages. There were many people there, all trying to improve their English. Tom sat down with a group of people who spoke English. They introduced themselves, and Tom said, "Hello, my name is Tom. I'm learning English, and I want to practice speaking." The group smiled and said, "We're happy to help you." The conversation started slowly. At first, everyone just talked about where they were from and what they did. Tom spoke about his job and his hobbies. But soon, the conversation grew more interesting. They started talking about their countries and what life was like there. Tom was surprised by how much he understood. He was able to join the conversation and share his thoughts. Sometimes, he didn't know the right word, but the others helped him. They would say, "That's okay, Tom. Just keep going." Tom felt encouraged. The group was kind, and they didn't judge him for making mistakes. As the evening went on, Tom felt more confident. He spoke more, and the others listened carefully. They asked him questions and gave him feedback. They said, "You're doing great. Keep practicing, and you'll improve even more." Tom left the cafe feeling happy and proud. The next day, Tom practiced speaking at home again. He started by talking to himself about a new topic. "Today I will talk about my childhood," he said. He spoke for 10 minutes about his school, his friends, and his family. It was fun to remember old memories, and it helped him use new vocabulary. Tom knew that practicing with different topics made his English stronger. Tom also continued writing in English. He had started keeping a diary to practice writing every day. Each day, he would write a few sentences about what had happened. "Today, I worked on a new project at work. I learned something new about computers. It was difficult, but I enjoyed it. At first, Tom's writing was simple, but over time, his sentences became longer and more complex. He learned how to use different tenses and phrases. Writing helped him practice grammar and sentence structure. Sometimes he looked up words he didn't know, and he wrote them down to remember. One day, Tom decided to write a longer story in English. He picked a topic he loved, traveling. He wrote about his dream trip to Japan. He described the places he wanted to visit, the food he wanted to try, and the people he hoped to meet. He wrote for an hour, trying to use as many new words as possible. When Tom finished, he read the story again. There were some mistakes, but that was okay. The most important thing was that he had used English for a long time. He was proud of what he had written. He showed it to his friend Maria, who was a native speaker. She read it and gave him some helpful corrections. "Your English is improving so much, Tom," Maria said. "You're getting better every day." Tom smiled. He knew that with practice he would keep getting better. He didn't mind making mistakes anymore. He understood that mistakes were part of learning. They helped him grow and improve. A few weeks later, Tom had another opportunity to speak in front of a group at work. He had to present a new idea to his team. He had been preparing for days, writing notes, and practicing in front of the mirror. He knew it was important to speak clearly and confidently. When the day of the presentation arrived, Tom felt nervous but ready. He stood in front of his team and said, "Good morning, everyone. Today, I will present a new idea for the project." He spoke slowly and clearly, just like he had practiced. His team listened carefully and asked questions. Tom answered them in English, and they understood him. At the end of the presentation, his manager said, "Great job, Tom. Your English is very good. I can see that you've been working hard." Tom felt proud of himself. He had used English to share an idea at work, and everything went well. Tom realized that learning English was not just about studying grammar or vocabulary. It was about using the language in real-life situations. Speaking, listening, reading, and writing every day helped him become better. And he knew that if he kept practicing, he would continue to improve. Tom's journey with English was far from over, but now he was more confident. He knew that every step, no matter how small, was helping him reach his goal. He was excited for the future and all the opportunities that would come with knowing English. Chapter 6. Tom woke up feeling excited. Today he was going to meet some friends he had made at the language cafe. They planned to go to a museum together. It was a great chance for Tom to practice English with people outside his usual group. He thought, "This will be fun, and I'll learn more words too." Tom arrived at the cafe where they were meeting. He saw Maria, Carlos, and Anna already waiting. They smiled when they saw him. "Hi, Tom. How are you today?" Maria asked. Tom smiled back and said, "I'm good, thanks. I'm excited for the museum." They all agreed to walk to the museum together. As they walked, they talked about their favorite hobbies. Carlos said, "I love painting. I go to art classes every week." Anna shared, "I enjoy photography. I like to take pictures of nature." Tom said, "I like traveling. I want to visit many countries in the future." It was easy for Tom to join the conversation. Everyone was friendly, and they helped him when he didn't know a word. When they reached the museum, they bought their tickets and entered. The museum was full of paintings, sculptures, and old artifacts. They decided to visit the art section first. Tom was amazed by the paintings. "Wow, these paintings are beautiful," he said. "I love the colors and the details." Maria nodded. "Yes, they are amazing. This one is by a famous artist from my country." Tom was interested and asked, "What's the name of the artist?" Maria explained, "His name is Picasso. He painted in many styles, but he is most famous for abstract art." As they walked through the museum, they continued to talk. Tom learned new words like abstract, sculpture, and exhibit. He also asked questions like, "Why did Picasso paint this way?" Maria answered, "He wanted to show the world in a different way. His paintings look strange, but they are beautiful in their own way." After a few hours, they took a break and sat down in the museum cafe. They ordered drinks and talked about other things. Anna asked, "What's the best place you've visited, Tom?" Tom thought for a moment. "I think it was Paris. I loved the Eiffel Tower, and the food was amazing. I want to go back someday." Carlos said, "I've always wanted to visit Paris too. I hear the museums there are wonderful." Tom nodded. "Yes, they are. I went to the Louvre Museum. It was huge, and I saw the Mona Lisa." Maria smiled and said, "That's awesome. I hope I can go to Paris one day too." As they finished their drinks, Tom realized how much he had learned during the day. Not just about art, but also about the people he had met. Speaking with them helped him learn new words and practice his listening skills. It was also fun. The more he spoke, the easier it became. On the way home, Tom felt proud of himself. He had spoken English for hours, and he hadn't felt nervous. He remembered how hard it used to be to speak with others. Now he could talk to people about all kinds of topics like travel, food, and art. The language was becoming more natural to him. The next week, Tom had another chance to practice English at work. His team was having a meeting, and he had to present an idea. He had been preparing for this moment for days. He knew it was important to speak clearly and confidently, so he practiced in front of the mirror every day. He also wrote down his main points to help him remember. On the day of the meeting, Tom took a deep breath and walked into the room. He said, "Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom, and I will present my idea for the new project." He spoke slowly and carefully. Everyone listened, and Tom felt more and more confident as he went on. He could see that his team understood him. They nodded and smiled. At the end of the presentation, his boss said, "Well done, Tom. Your English is getting better every day." Tom smiled and thanked him. He knew that his hard work was paying off. Speaking English at work was still challenging sometimes, but it was becoming easier with practice. Later that week, Tom received an email from his manager. The email said, "Tom, I want to thank you for your hard work on the project. Your English communication skills have improved a lot. Keep it up." Tom was so happy. He had worked hard to improve his English, and it was paying off. Tom realized that speaking English wasn't just about using the right words. It was also about confidence. When he believed in himself, it was easier to speak. He remembered how nervous he had been when he first started learning English. Now, he felt comfortable speaking in many situations. Tom also learned that practice was the key to improvement. Every time he spoke, whether it was at the museum, at work, or with friends, he was getting better. He didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to keep practicing. Even if he made mistakes, it was okay. Mistakes helped him learn. One day, Tom thought about his goals. He wanted to keep improving his English and become fluent. He wanted to speak confidently with anyone, anywhere. He knew it would take time, but he was ready for the challenge. Tom was excited for the future, and he knew that with practice, he would keep getting better every day. Tom smiled as he thought about everything he had learned. He had come a long way, and he was proud of himself. He knew that as long as he kept practicing, there would be no limit to what he could achieve with English. The journey was far from over, but Tom was more confident than ever. Chapter 7. Tom woke up early one Saturday morning. He had big plans for the day. His friend Maria had invited him to a picnic in the park. Tom was excited. It would be a fun way to practice his English and enjoy the sunny weather. Tom prepared some sandwiches and packed a small bag with drinks, snacks, and a blanket. When everything was ready, he left his apartment and went to the park. It was a beautiful day. The sun was shining, and there was a light breeze in the air. As he walked to the park, he thought, "This is going to be a great day." When Tom arrived, he saw Maria and some of her friends already sitting on the grass. They waved at him and smiled. "Hi, Tom. Welcome," Maria called out. Tom waved back and walked over to join them. He sat down on the blanket and said, "Hello, everyone. It's a nice day for a picnic." They all agreed. "Yes, it's perfect for being outside," said Anna, one of Maria's friends. "We're so happy you could join us today, Tom," she added. Tom smiled. "Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here." They began talking about different things. Maria asked, "Tom, have you tried any new foods recently?" Tom thought for a moment and said, "Yes, I tried sushi last week. It was different, but I liked it." Anna looked surprised. "Sushi? Wow, that's brave. How did you like it?" she asked. Tom smiled and said, "It was good. The fish was fresh, but I think I need to try more kinds." They all laughed. "I think you should try it with wasabi next time," said Carlos, another friend. "It's a little spicy, but it's delicious." Tom nodded. "I'll definitely try that next time." After a while, they began eating their sandwiches. As they ate, the conversation turned to travel. "If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?" Maria asked. Tom didn't need to think long. "I'd love to visit Japan," he said. "I want to see the temples, eat more sushi, and maybe even learn how to make it." "That sounds amazing," Anna said. "I've always wanted to go to Japan too. It's so different from my country." Tom smiled. "Yes, it's very different, but I think it would be a great adventure." The group continued talking about their dream travel destinations. Carlos said, "I want to go to Italy. I love the history and the food. I've always wanted to see the Colosseum in Rome." Maria agreed. "Italy is beautiful. The art, the food, and the cities are all amazing." As they talked about their travels, Tom felt more and more comfortable. Speaking English with his friends was becoming easier. He didn't worry about making mistakes anymore. Everyone was so kind and supportive. They didn't laugh at him or correct him too much. Instead, they helped him learn new words and phrases. After lunch, they decided to walk around the park. There was a lake nearby, and they wanted to see the ducks. As they walked, they continued their conversation. Maria asked Tom, "What do you like most about learning English?" Tom thought for a moment and said, "I like that I can talk to people from different countries. I feel like I can understand the world better." "That's a great answer," Maria said. "I agree. English is such a useful language. It connects people from all over the world." Tom nodded. "Yes, exactly. I feel proud when I can speak with someone in English, even if it's just a small conversation." They reached the lake and sat down by the water. The ducks were swimming around and the sun was starting to set. It was peaceful. "This is nice," Anna said. "I'm glad we could spend the day together." Tom smiled and agreed. Yes, it's a perfect day. As the evening came, Tom felt grateful. He had spent the whole day speaking English with his friends, and he hadn't felt nervous at all. He had learned new words, and most importantly, he had enjoyed himself. He realized that speaking English wasn't just about studying or practicing. It was also about connecting with people, having fun, and sharing experiences. On his way home, Tom thought about how far he had come. A year ago, he could barely speak a few words of English. Now he could have a conversation about food, travel, and even deep topics like the importance of language. His confidence had grown so much, and he knew that he could keep improving. The next day, Tom woke up with a new goal in mind. He wanted to speak English with someone every day, even if it was just for a few minutes. He knew that small conversations could make a big difference in his learning. "Every little bit helps," he thought. "I'll keep practicing, and I'll get better every day." Tom was excited about the future. He knew that English would open doors for him. He could talk to more people, read books in English, and even watch movies without subtitles. Most importantly, he knew that he could keep learning and growing, and that made him feel proud of his journey. That evening, Tom sent a message to Maria. "Thanks for today," he wrote. "I had a great time. Let's do it again soon." Maria replied, "I'm so glad you came. It was fun practicing English together. Let's plan another picnic soon." Tom smiled as he read the message. He felt happy and confident. Learning English wasn't always easy, but it was definitely worth it. He was excited to continue practicing, meeting new people, and improving every day.